Mr. Solorio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, I rise today because I kind of am in between on this bill. You know, I think there is merit to the bill, but I do know that the rental car associations have rised up with some very practical suggestions on how to implement this, which is what we want. You know, for example, sometimes with recalls, they need to be phased. And so one amendment out there I know is to allow these rental car companies to adapt to that recall, but in phases. Or sometimes manufacturers may have multiple ways of saying how a recall safety issue can be addressed. The amendment suggests that. You know, I'm just troubled that there are amendments that are out there that would make the bill more practical. Today I don't feel comfortable supporting the bill because I think the bill could be more practical and stronger with those amendments. So for those reasons, I am staying off the bill today.
Ms. Yamada.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question of the author. Madam Speaker, question of the author.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Monning, is it correct that federal law currently prohibits car dealers from selling or leasing a car that is subject to a federal safety recall?
It prohibits the sale by a manufacturer.
Prohibits the sale. So what we are trying to do in this bill, I believe, is simply conform to rental car companies the same standard.
That's correct, Ms. Yamada.
Thank you. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Davis.
Madam Speaker and members, I think that all of us rent cars, all of us have a relationship with rental car companies because all of us travel. And while we want to make sure that business thrives, at the same time, our number one priority is now, today, and tomorrow, and should always be the public safety of the individuals who help to elect us. I don't think that there's a person in any of these 80 chairs that would want their relative to be subjected to the whim of trying to figure out if, in fact, when they go to a rental car company, that they perhaps might have a car that might be in defect. I know for a fact that nobody here would want their daughter, son, cousin, aunt, etc., to be in that circumstance. And so the very thing that we wish for ourselves, we ought to wish for other Californians who are doing business with rental cars in this state. And so while I love rental car companies, I patronize them perhaps more than a lot of other people. But the choice that we have today is very clear. We are not threatening the operation or the success or the revenue or the bottom line of rental car companies here. We're making a decision to make sure that the practice they use in making sure that these agreements for cars that are let out are in compliance with the federal recall standards. And so I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Ms. Huber.
I want to commend the author because I do think he's trying to solve a problem, but I can't support the bill today. And my feeling is we are not saying as a public policy that people cannot drive cars that have been recalled. If any of you have a car that has a safety recall, you are all free to drive that car. You make the informed choice to drive your car while you're scheduling to get whatever part it is. If it's the cigarette lighter that has a safety issue, you make the choice to drive your car. And my argument is the rental car companies should absolutely be doing more. They need to be disclosing if they are renting a car that has a safety recall so that consumers can make an informed choice. But that's not what this bill does. It says you can't rent them at all, no matter what the defect, and for that I have to urge a no vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, Mr. Monning, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I'll be brief, but this is a very important issue. I do need to correct a couple of misinformed comments. It was suggested, perhaps, that this bill goes too far and that it would subject rental vehicles to recall for issues not relating to safety. This goes to safety recalls as determined by the federal government. A safety recall, as I defined, that poses a risk to the driver, the family, other people on the road. I find it interesting that one of my colleagues minimized the impact of defective windshield wipers or a defroster? Do you want you and your family on a 2-lane highway on a rainy night with somebody unfamiliar with their new rental vehicle coming at you and veering over that center line and taking out your whole family? I think not. That's the de minimis issue raised by one of our colleagues. It was also suggested that, well, if the parts aren't available, shouldn't we be granting and affording some courtesy to the rental car agencies until they can secure that replacement piece? Were the Houck sisters, was that rental car agency awaiting the steering column defect repair piece? And do any of you think it was appropriate for them to make that rental, which led to them dying? Another colleague suggested that we should just give the consumer written notice that there's a safety defect in the car they're going to rent. How many of you have raced through a rental car agency, initialed all the provisions in small print, anxious to get those car keys and jump into the car? How many of you read all the small print? That small print would protect the lessor from potential legal liability. It would not protect the consumer. The only protection for the consumer is to prevent rental car agencies from handing them the keys to a car that is the subject of a safety defect recall. In the memory of the Houck sisters and for the protection of California consumers, I'm going to ask for your aye vote. In response to some colleagues, I do want to just reassure you, my door is open. I've been in constructive conversation with representatives of the rental car agencies. I continue to carry that on as this moves over to the Senate. But for today, I am asking your aye vote and your trust in my commitment to fashion a bill that will protect consumers in a manner that is least invasive to the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Mr. Monning moves the call. Okay, we have one item on call. File item 66, AB 753. Clerk will post. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 42, noes 26. Measure passes.